Hello, everyone. Welcome to Awkwardly Zen, the podcast. I am super excited today to have one of my dearest friends in the entire world. This is the amazing Nicole. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Ari.
And Nicole has been a partner with Awkwardly Zen, actually only the last couple years, I would say. No, were you a partner from the beginning, or did we have to
I
talk
don't
to you
think so.
into it?
Maybe not from the beginning, but at least for several years.
So, Nicole and I have a long history before Awkwardly Zen. And first, before we go into that history, because that's a fun story in itself, Nicole, why don't you tell everyone what your modality is and what kind of readings you offer?
Of course, thanks. Hello, everyone. I'm Nicole from Seeds from Source. That is my company name. So I do oracle card readings. I also do Lenormand, which is sort of like a mix between tarot and oracle. But one of the big things that I do that no one else does is I use Cards Against Humanity as oracle cards.
Yeah, and you didn't mishear that, you guys. She literally uses the game Cards Against Humanity, and does readings with those. And it is such a lighthearted and fun way to read. And it's so unique. Like again, nobody does this as far as we know. Nicole, why don't you tell everyone how it is that you came to read Cards Against Humanity in a metaphysical reading?
Yeah, so it's actually, I think it's a pretty interesting story. So it actually involves you, Ari, because you were doing a mini psychic event at a distillery here in Inglewood, Colorado. And I had gone because Charles Cox was there as well, and I really wanted a reading from him. So I was there, and there were some other AZ people there as well. And when I'm with my spiritual friends, I just want to do readings. Like, I don't need to make money from it. I just like to give people messages. And you had actually let me borrow some of your Oracle decks that you were not using at the time, because I think you were just using your tarot cards. And so I started using those and it was fun. And then I was sitting at this table and I noticed that on the table there was this deck of cards and it was Cards Against Humanity. And I thought, I wonder if I can use these like Oracle cards, just totally playing around. And so I got them out of the card deck or got them out of the container and shuffling them. And I just started asking questions and I would pull like three cards. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm actually getting messages like from these cards, like they're actually making sense. And so I was like, I wonder if there's something here. But I realized it was only the black cards. Now at that time, I didn't own any Cards Against Humanity decks or bundles at that time. So I was like, well, if I remember correctly, there were white cards. So I'm like, I'm wondering how the white cards would work because the black cards are just either asking a question or filling in the blanks, and the white cards are what you're using to answer the question or fill in the blanks. But so I went out and I bought the cards and I was like kind of started playing around with it, and I'm like, okay, there's something here. But the great thing is that it forces me to use my intuition because there's no guidebook to tell me what the cards mean.
Yeah.
And like the same card can mean something different for, different people, just depending on the question they're asking, like what words are popping out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and what I love about it is that, you were so intuitive when you would read your Lenormand and also with your oracle, but you were more likely to go to the book for a long time with the oracle. Now it feels like as you're doing your readings, they've just transformed into this understanding that the message is coming through you, so it doesn't really matter what card you have in your hand.
absolutely. Yeah. Because I mean, and I still will use the guidebook, especially with the oracle cards, just because I look at it and I like every time I do a reading now, I still get this like little panic of, oh no, what does that mean? Even
Right.
with like Cards Against Humanity, I'm flipping over these outrageous cards and I'm like, oh no, what does that mean?
But then what do
But
you
those,
do in that moment?
I have to actually just kind of stop, take
Mm.
a breath, and just like I usually close my eyes because even though I'm clairaudient, I still have to kind of close my eyes to just focus on what is coming through instead of trying to figure out what it means or like go to a book. I have to literally just stop and relax and wait for the messages to come.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the best pieces of advice to anyone who is trying to tap into their intuition, into their psychic abilities, because I think so often we become reliant on the guidebooks, on the cards, on all of that. We have a friend named Brenda Hardwick, who's one of our partners with AZ, and she always says, throw the guidebook away when you buy the cards. Now, I don't agree with that, you guys. I love Brenda dearly, but I like having the guidebooks. However, I also teach when I'm coaching, like, you don't have to have the guidebooks in order to get the messages, but that moment of panic that's the moment, right? Where you have to stop and breathe through it, and so I'm just so glad you shared that with everyone.
Yeah, and I also wanna say, like, there are some decks out there that you look at the images on the cards, and they're very abstract.
Mm,
So it's really hard to decipher. I mean, aside from maybe a single word that might be on that card, you're not really you don't have a lot of imagery to kinda go off of to be like, "Oh, well, I'm seeing this or this is like a swirl. What
yeah.
does a swirl tell me?" Well, I'm sure the author who created that swirl, like, has a meaning behind it. So sometimes the book is important depending on the deck because there are some pretty tricky decks out there to read intuitively.
Yeah, I always tell everyone, who takes my classes or who does that, like, go ahead and use the book, that's fine, but also spend some time with the card and see if there's any messages that come through, because I think sometimes that can kind of trick us into letting those psychic messages come through without the tool, which I really love. But in your case, I would never take away your Cards Against Humanity because it is just always so fun when we're sitting somewhere reading together and I say, "Oh yeah, that's Nicole and she does readings with Cards Against Humanity." And to watch everyone's face just they go, "What? Oh my gosh, that's so cool." And then they have to come see you. So it's so beautiful. Now, you are available to read online. You're also reading at some stores around town here in the Denver area. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm actually really excited. But for a long time, I was really reliant on AZ events to do readings, and I'm finally kind of stepping out on my own a little bit. So once a month, I've been going up to the Golden Rock Shop, and I've been doing the readings there on Saturdays, usually for about 4 to 4.5 hours. But this month I'll actually be at the Cat's Eye Crystals in downtown Denver. And so I'll probably get to a point where I'll probably alternate between Cat's Eyes and the Golden Rock Shop. I'll probably still just doing it once a month because I'm very much an introvert. My job is hectic and I need my downtime. So committing to even just doing it twice a month still feels like a lot to me because I know myself and I know I need my time to myself. So
And I think that's so important, especially when you are, you work a 9 to 5 muggle job, and then you also have the metaphysical side. And I do think it's important to balance that with your own downtime. So I love that you shared that as well. All right, let's talk about the fun history here. Okay. So Nicole and I met at a pet store of all things. I had a booth there with a friend of ours, and Nicole wandered up with her cute little dog. Do you want to tell us about Fritz and how you found us?
yeah, Fritz actually wasn't even with me that day.
That's
But yeah,
yeah,
so I had gotten a dog. No, he wasn't. I don't take
it's
him out in public. He's an a-hole.
okay.
But anyway, no, see, I had gotten a dog like a year before, and there was a chain of pet stores in the Denver area called Bentley's.
Mhm.
They no longer exist. I think they kind of got bought out, but anyway. But they had opened up this store next to this like our local grocery store, King Supers, and so it was like a year after I got in Frizz, and they were having a customer appreciation event. And of course, they're going to have me like free giveaways. And I love me some free stuff. So I was like, yes, I will get there right when they open to make sure I get my free things. Plus, I had a bunch of deals on treats and whatever. So I stocked up. But as I was walking out of the store, I saw this table of about Young Living essential oils. If you don't mind my, just putting it out there. And it was Ari and Jen. And I was like, oh, yeah, I have Young Living oils. I wasn't really using them at that time. But and Mary's like, "What? You're not using them?" I'm like, "No." I like didn't really have much use for them at that time. But she was like, "Oh my gosh," and I can't remember what how it happened, but I essentially talked to Jen for like an hour.
Yeah,
You were doing Facebook Live, like in this pet store, talking about that you were
pretty
there.
standard, right?
Yeah. And I just remember after this again hour of talking with Jen, I was really getting too early to leave. And you were like, "Hey, I'm gonna be having this Halloween party. It's gonna be Harry Potter themed." I was like, "Ooh, I love Harry Potter." And she's like, "Well, even though you're not on my team, I'll invite you anyway." And so I came to your house. We're like 5 minutes from each other,
Yeah.
and I'd been in Denver for probably like 4 years at that point, and that was the first time we'd ever crossed paths.
Yeah, well, at least that we know.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was so fun about that is and why I'm so grateful that I had that part of my life, right? That chapter in my life because I no longer sell oils. I still use them religiously and love them, but I'm so grateful because it brought so many beautiful people into my world and you are one of those. And actually it is kind of fascinating how from the essential oil world brought all of these people together. And, one day I had said to Nicole, we're going to do a metaphysical event at my house, right? And we're gonna learn how to balance our chakras and what oils are good for chakras. And I think we had a friend who had just done a oracle card deck with the oils, and then Nicole was like, "Oh, I used to be in an oracle card group, and I'll bring my cards." And so I often give Nicole a lot of credit for helping start AZ, because when she brought those cards and was a part of that, I mean, that was the first time I had ever had an oracle card reading, was you reading for me, which is so insane to think about now. And one thing led to another, and then when AZ kind of got it when it was gifted to me, when I was channeling about all of this, and there was all these different things that had to happen. Long story short, Nicole was one of the people who I called over to my house in the heart of COVID. Like, I wouldn't let anyone in. Do you remember that? I was like, if you have to pee, you have to put on a mask and you have to go across. And we were like socially distanced around my porch. Like, it was the heart. And I said, this is this vision. This is what I have. And this is what I want to do. And our friend Amber, who is still with Awkwardly Zen, was like, okay, we're in. And you all just came together at that moment and allowed me to not have it be mine, but it to be ours. And I still feel that way. Many of the people in that group have gone their own way at this point. Um, but when I look at you and I look at Amber, I just can't imagine doing this without you.
I know, I feel the same, and I gotta give you credit, Ari, like, your little metaphysical fair at your house, that, like and when you really started on your path and we started going to all, like, the fairs and doing classes, that was, like, a big jump start for me, like, on my journey. Like, I had really been in very much of a stall at that point. Like, I hadn't been doing readings or even doing my using my cards at all for, like, literally years, since I'd moved to Denver. So, like, I'm honestly grateful for you, like, starting in your path and be like, "Yeah, let's all do this." I'm like, "Yes." So, like, that really jump started me on my path, and so I'm super grateful.
Well, I think that comes down to that whole concept of divine timing, right? Like, when I look back, from my darkest moments have come my lightest and brightest things, right? And I can walk from my absolute darkest moment to Awkwardly Zen starting, and along the way there was all of this gathering of people, right? This gathering of energy that had to come together in order to be the exact right situation to start this. And here we are a little over 4 years later at almost 20,000 people. And like, I knew we were headed somewhere big, but we did not know what we were going to end up doing along the way. And then it's been such a joy to do it with friends, and also to watch the growth. Like, you fought for quite a while against the idea of being a practitioner.
I think I just didn't, trust in my beliefs or not my beliefs, my abilities. That's
Yeah.
what it is. I didn't even though people could tell me, "Oh, Nicole, you're a channel, you're a psychic." I'm like, "No, I'm not. You're nuts." So it took me a while to really trust in my ability, and I still have a hard time saying that I am a channel, even though I know I am. But I think it just comes down to like confidence. Just being confident and be like, "This is what I do. This is who I am."
Yeah, and that can be hard. And we were just talking about this beforehand because Nicole is about to wander in to the great big scary world of social media. I know, see the face. I knew she was going to make a face on that. And that is such a challenging world to go into, especially when you may have some confidence things or some putting yourself out there things, and like, even getting you set up. I'm so proud of you when I said, hey Nicole, you want to be on the podcast, that you were like, yes. Because it's scary to be here in front of the camera. What do you think some of the things are that have helped you kind of move past that fear of being seen?
That's a really good question. I think even just being a part of AZ and being a part of the Zen Zooms, I'm always on camera, and I could totally appreciate the people who aren't and they're still there participating. I think that's great, but I want to be there. I want people to see my face because that's one thing people say is like I do have a big smile,
You
and you
do.
can see like my energy and my smile just like radiating when I'm on camera, and
Yeah.
so I think just being a constant presence even in our AZ events is important. And I have shot some videos of myself. I think I did a couple I posted on Facebook. I still have a really hard time like seeing myself and hearing my voice. And I
Yeah.
think I'll be honest, like I'm a little nervous about, the trolls out there and any sort of like negative comments because I'm a very sensitive person. And
Mhm.
so, but at some point I'll probably just be like, whatever, they don't really know who I am,
Yeah,
so
and it's interesting, and I say you're putting yourself out into social media, and that might not happen immediately. And I know for me personally, I mean, I was out there on social media. I don't mind being seen, as we know, but I couldn't quite figure out my voice. And then when I figured out my voice, and when I started doing my character videos on Instagram, that was really when it just felt good, right? And speaking of character videos. One of the things that encouraged me to actually take the leap and do my character videos was that my friend Nicole has a character that comes out sometimes when she is doing her Cards Against Humanity readings and well, have all of us laughing until we almost pee our pants. So, Nicole, with no pressure whatsoever, is Clarice around? Can we meet her?
why, of course. Hey, darlings. My name's Claire Reese. I'm from the South, as you can tell, and I love doing readings and giving people messages, but I especially love doing sexy time readings.
Sexy time readings. Now, what does a sexy time reading entail, Clarice?
Oh, that's just like if you need some, advice in your love life, you need to get some, girl, because who does need to get some these days? Am I right? I
Well,
mean,
I
we all
mean,
need some encouragement.
it's true. It's very true. So, when you are doing your sexy time readings or just normal readings, Clarice, do you use Cards Against Humanity or Oracle cards or both?
I use both. So, like my friend Nicole, I do use Cards Against Humanity and Oracle cards all together. We like to use a 6 card spread because it's boring just using one thing.
Fair, fair. And when people are booking with Nicole, could they request a reading from Clarice if they really wanted one?
Of course. I'm always ready to give people messages. Doesn't happen often these days, but someday I'll be out there.
I love it. Well, Clarice, if you wouldn't mind sending Nicole back to the room, thank you. Yeah, so I just love Nicole. I will never forget when you first started bringing Clarice out and just the shock that we all had of like, what is happening? And then just pure laughter. And I think that sometimes having that alter ego can be so powerful. We've heard about how Beyonce has an alter ego when she steps on stage. When you click into that Clarice uh um alter ego, how does that feel?
It's almost like a freedom. It's like I am already a little spicy, obviously using Cards Against Humanity, but adding Clarice to it makes me like I can go even just a little bit further.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun, but I mean, it's totally weird how it happened. So I was doing readings for our Level Up members, which I love doing it, and we need to set up another time.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I just started talking with a Southern accent. Yes, I have lived in the South, so at one point I did have my own accent, and it was horrible. I just started talking to that, and then she was born. And there are times where I'll just be talking, and all of a sudden, I want to start talking in a British accent because I was thinking, I could use that. And what if her name would be the Claire? And the Claire would be give you very serious readings. I mean, there's so many possibilities, especially when you can use different accents and voices.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's a good like reminder to people that sometimes it's okay to step out of what you might think of as authentically you to have a little fun. And I think that's one of the things that I love the most about Awkwardly Zen is that we really don't take spirituality too seriously. And speaking of that, one of my favorite quotes in all of Awkwardly Zen history is you talking about the salad bar. So, I bring it up all the time, and every time I'm like, "My friend Nicole says this," because it's so fitting for how Awkwardly Zen at least seems to embrace spirituality. So could you share what you feel about spirituality using the I don't know
Salad
what yeah, the salad bar analogy, that's the
bar.
word.
Yes, there it is. Yeah, I mean, I love food. So a lot of my analogies are food related. And this could apply to anything. You could talk about like ice cream and toppings, like whatever you want, but a salad bar just made more sense. So I use the salad bar analogy to describe the difference between like religion and spirituality, and that in a lot of religions, they kind of tell you what you are supposed to believe. They tell you what you're supposed to put on your salad, and you're not really supposed to veer off too far from what they're telling you can put on your plate. But when it comes to spirituality, you can put whatever you want on your plate. You can try, those little weird baby corns and then some olives, or you're like, ooh, you know what? I don't like those. So I just go get a new plate or just scrape those off and then I can start over again. And you can just keep exploring and mixing and matching until you find what works for you. And like a salad bar, you can kind of go multiple times and maybe you're happy with your salad, but maybe you want to add a little something new. So you can try a little something different each time until it becomes the best salad. And even that best salad can change over time with spirituality because as you learn and grow, like I'm still developing even as a practitioner, like someday I would love to do like shamanic clearings and healings. So I know this can be part of my journey, but not there yet. But that's something I'll be able to add to my plate later on,
Yeah.
when I'm ready for it.
Yeah, and I think it has been so helpful for the group. One, you are such a calming influence in the group because you are so interactive with your face and with nodding and doing all of that. You and I are the nodders of the group, right? We're constantly like this whole podcast we've been like and also just because you are so authentically you in any given moment. And that's not to say you're not a work in progress, right? Like we all are, but it is to say that you allow yourself to say the things and be heartfelt. And we've seen tears from you, we've seen anger from you, and I just am so blessed to get to sit in community with you and watch that happen. Is it hard to be authentic when you're in the awkwardly zen rooms?
No, because I mean, as anyone would say, I don't have a poker face, so you will see me making faces throughout the entire sentence. I'm like, I mean, literally all the time because we're all muted, and even though I'm like still like saying things out loud or like mouthing things, like you can see it on my face.
Right.
Um, but there is again, I think we're all there to be ourselves and just like have a conversation, and so there's that freedom that I can be myself in those rooms, whereas maybe I can't be myself in other areas of my life like I can in that room.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that it's been so enjoyable about Awkwardly Zen, right? Is that there is a safety in coming in and saying whatever. Knowing that in our Zen Zooms we're not recorded, knowing that you're not going to be laughed at for saying something about, Sasquatch or aliens or anything. It's just like let's just let it out and let's see what happens. And I think what's been so beautiful with you is watching your journey in those rooms, and your ups and your downs and all of that has allowed so many people to truly be okay with where they are in their journey, especially when it's not going well.
I agree, and I mean, I'll be the first to say, especially when we get talking about meditation, I mean, even though I've been a part of AZ since the beginning and I've been, a practitioner for a number of years, I still struggle with meditation. Guess what? I'm not, I mean, we're all not perfect, but I think it's kind of comforting. I know it's comforting for me when I could hear people talk about how they struggle with certain aspects of spirituality or the metaphysical. So I'm like, yeah, me too. And I don't care how long I've been doing it. I still struggle with it. And I think that's going to be comforting for even new people coming in who think they have to be like perfect and have it, down pat. Like the first time they try it, oh, they got to be a perfect, at meditating the first time you do it. And it's like, no,
Eh.
it's like that salad bar thing, like sometimes you're gonna try the baby corn. Nope, that doesn't work. Olives, nope. Carrots. And I can kind of do carrots, but I kind of something else might be better. So
Yeah, well, and then every once in a while something will surprise you, right? Like I love raisins on a salad. Freaking love it. And why would anyone do that? But like that's just it, right? The raisins surprise you sometimes. They taste real good with ranch and bacon bits. Like it's good stuff. Look at your face. No? Okay, how about like picking up the baby corn and eating it like that?
oh yeah, like big style, absolutely.
Big style, I like it. All right, Nicole, so what are you most looking forward to in the next quarter of the year? I cannot believe we are in the last quarter of this year.
I know, I can't believe it's gonna be October. Well, where we're filming now, October's tomorrow for us.
It'll be
Um,
October when this comes out.
yeah, it's gonna be October. You know what? I'm really excited to obviously continue doing readings at the shops here in the Denver and Golden area. Um, I'm excited to eventually get the courage to get onto Instagram, myself and Clary's. And honestly, one of my big goals, I called an end of year goal, maybe a New Year's goal, is I would really like to get a website because I don't have one right now. Maybe getting a business card was a big step for me. I finally have that. But I definitely want to have more of a presence and make it easier for people to, find me in book readings. Because right
Yeah.
now it's just like email me and people are like, okay. Um, I figure that's probably like they're like, okay. But
Right.
I feel like having a website would make it easier. Plus, I also make selenite ones, and so it'd be nice to have a place to sell those as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys, her selenite wands are gorgeous. You also just recently, what do you call your machine?
Oh, my Pinwheel Galaxy.
Pinwheel Galaxy. So tell everyone what the Pinwheel Galaxy is.
Yeah, so I got some bonus money at work, so I decided to treat myself by buying a gumball machine. But I got it outfitted to dispense 1 inch acorn capsules, and I fill them with crystal tumbles. And it is like the biggest joy in my life because it's the epitome of like fun and whimsy and just like, childhood, like putting quarters in the machine and turning and not knowing what you're going to get. I love it. And surprisingly, filling the capsules and like doing the whole thing is so like therapeutic for me. It's very monotonous, but I love it so much. So like I'm hoping that it'll get used more and more so I can keep filling it up with capsules.
So often Nicole has the Pinwheel Galaxy with her when she's reading. As a matter of fact, she'll have it at our 11/11 fair that's coming up on November 9th at the Althea Center. So you can find that on the Awkwardly Zen website and find Nicole there and also her pinwheel machine and get your own tumbles. I just looked up because there's little bits of Nicole all over my office. Not literally bits of Nicole, but there are things that Nicole has either showed me or she has given me or little bits of whimsy. And one of the things that I have right over my desk so that I can regularly grab it is my Wonder Jar. So, the Wonder Jar, y'all, I mean, look at this. So the Wonder Jar is filled with like glittery magic. There's some dinosaurs in there. There's some pearls. Nicole is the one who brought Wonder Jars to our little crew, and we had a whole big event where we made Wonder Jars. Actually, it was a whole day to honor Nicole because that's how cool she is that, she's the first person to support you all the time. And so we decided that we needed to love on her. And that was right before COVID. Like that was kind of our last big hurrah before
Yes.
COVID. But tell everyone where the Wonder Jar thing came from and then how they could make their own.
Yeah, so that's definitely an idea that I stole. My brother is very artistic and he is great at creating things. And he had created a console stand that he was trying to get off the ground. Not quite there yet, but hopefully in the future, maybe. But he went to this mini makers fair in Denver. And I was like, yeah, I'll go. Free ticket, sure, why not? And so it was just all these different vendors, like Epilogue Laser was there, and they were doing like laser printing and cutting and stuff. And there are all these other people like just making things. You got to like actually make things while you were there. And one of the tables, I can't remember what the organization was, but they were making these like basically this plastic bottles with like pipe cleaners and other things, and then filled with water. And so by the time I got to that table, they had already kind of run out of supplies. But I was like really curious about it. I'm like, well, that's probably something I could make at home. And so I asked, like, is it just water? She's like, well, you can actually add a little bit of glycerin to it. So I was like, okay. And so I kind of took that idea and ran with it. And I definitely started using glass jars just because it's better for the environment and they seal a little bit better. And then obviously not incorporating anything metal because I figured metal would oxidize in the water, but so I tend to stick to plastic things. So I was like, yeah, let me just get a glass jar, fill it with some beads, some glitter, some like sequins, random plastic things from the dollar store. Um, Throw in some glycerin or fill it up with water, seal it really good, and shake it around and just have fun.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like I made this, right? I look at it pretty regularly. As a matter of fact, it's one of those like calming things for me that when I'm getting a little bit caught up, but I just looked in it and noticed that when there's a giant green diamond, had no idea that was in there, and a gnome. Did not know there was a gnome in there. He's been hiding for all these years. Uh, so, I mean, that's the joy of a Wonder Jar, right?
Yeah, you can literally put almost anything you want. This is gonna sound kind of macabre and maybe a little weird, but one of my first Wonder Jar that I made for myself, I had gotten these mermaid dolls at the Dollar Tree, and I kinda took them apart, and so I literally have the head floating separately from the torso, and it fills me with so much joy to see this head swirling around.
You know what? We can handle a little macabre. So you guys, here's the thing. If you ever need an idea for whimsy, if you ever want to find someone who has the sweetest inner child heart that comes out and will like play with you, Nicole is absolutely your person, and I'm so grateful for you in my life, Nicole, because when I am out somewhere and about, if I'm not buying you a little bit of whimsy, I am buying me a little bit of whimsy, because why not? Makes me happy. All right. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for being here today. Anything else you want the people to know?
Um, I don't know. That's like the hardest question
I
ever.
know. I know. See how I didn't ask you any hard questions, and then we get to the very end, and I'm like,
I know, right? It's
uh,
like that able question, like, when you're doing a reading, you ask them, "What do you wanna know?" They're like, "Oh, no, I wasn't expecting you for you to ask me what I need to know right now."
right? They're like, I just can't, just tell me. Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much for being vulnerable with us today, for sharing kind of your journey on your path as you've become a practitioner, and how you figured out your own thing and made it your own. I think that that is so inspiring. And I hope that other people are watching this right now and are going, yeah, I could do that. I can do this fun thing. I can figure out my own thing. And I think that you will continue to inspire and be such a beautiful part of AZ, and I'm grateful for that.
Well, thank you, Ari. I'm super grateful for you and for AZ as a whole. I mean, this has truly been such an important part of my life, like, meeting people, you have literally such a, like, soul connection
Mm.
that I feel like I wouldn't meet otherwise. I mean, I would hope I would, but the fact that I get to do it through this amazing organization, um, is so great. So I thank you guys so much, and all of our volunteers and our lead team. You guys are so amazing. I really cannot thank you guys enough for all that you do.
Oh, well, thank you. You are a big part of that. So, thank you for that. And again, y'all, come see us for the 11/11 fair. This one's going to be on November 9th. And that's 2024. So if you're watching this years from now, it's always going to be somewhere around 11/11. So make sure you watch for that on the Awkwardly Zen website. You can also find Nicole on our partner page there, and I'll have your contact information and the write up for this. So you guys can all call and book a reading with her or find out when she's going to be at whatever store. And if not, come see her at the 11/11 fair. Nicole, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Ari. It's truly a pleasure.